If you're looking at what I was talking about, you have this tab right here. And if you'll notice, my mark is right here. They're 180 out from each other. This points to the outside, this points to the inside. When this is put back together, you want to make sure those two are lined up, because that definitely drives how everything will go back together. And if they're not lined up properly, it will be ugly. And of course, you also have to make sure that your spring goes to is indexed all the way to the edge, and then you adjust your bottom. Since it's a different spring, it won't be in the same place. But if you do both sides the same, you won't have any of the issues that they talk about with respect to slight difference in left and right sides, which is probably not noticeable unless you knew about it. So, put it in the vise. You want to have as much room between the bottom and this because of your spring compressor. Don't collapse the shock in the process. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to put our spring compressor on. Now the first time I did this, this is about the 5th or 6th time I've done a spring. First time I went to, where did we get that one? Track, or AutoZone?
AutoZone.
Anyway, you go in, you give them the $60 deposit, they lend you the spring compressor, you bring it back, they give you your 60 bucks back. So you don't have to buy this tool if you don't need to. Alright, so we're just going to put the spring compressor on. You want them to be opposite of one another. Obviously it's a spring, so the coils aren't going to be the same. The reason I told you to bring the shock up, though, you can see how these extend down, and as we collapse the spring, these go down, and you have to make sure you have enough room to actually collapse the spring enough to get your hat off. My spring compressor, it's a 3/4 volt. You just want to take them down evenly. Shit. Basically want to get this, bring them down evenly until loosened up. Okay. The next trick in this, how to keep this shaft from spinning while you take the nut off. One of the forum members suggested a strap wrench. These things are a few bucks. You basically thread it through, wrap it around the shaft with a shock, and it does provide enough tension against the shaft spinning to allow you to hold it in place while you take it off. The strap wrench has a little brute thing. Do this, and then once you put some pressure on it, it rips the shaft. Alright, so this is the top hat bolt. It's an 18mm. You want to hold the shaft. Nut comes off. If you don't use this, you're going to fight it for a while. Alright, so now, we've got our hat. Pull our hat off in our assembly. This is reused with the new shocks and struts. Spring comes off. And then we take the bottom rubber. So this and this get reused on the new shock and strut. We're back. We got our new spring. We took our old shock out. Didn't figure we need to show you that. Alright, so your rubber piece goes on the bottom. And of course, when I was talking about index, is this edge here. You want this touching the bottom of the spring piece when it's in. This piece will be in a different position than it was original because the springs are a different length and their ends are different. So, put our spring in. What I like to do is when I put everything together, I like to make sure they're touching all the time. It's just a nice way to remember what you're doing. Your hat, on the other hand, because of the way it's designed, it will be in the same position that it was on the car when you took it off. So if you recall, we marked our outermost bolt, okay, which has to be 180 out from our tab. So this is going to have to go on like so. So when we put this on, and this is something that you'll have to check continuously. Now if you'll notice, I had this lined up, but this part isn't, so I'm going to rotate the spring till it falls into place. And if you'll notice, I have the top touching. Now I'm going to make sure they all stay together, touching. And now throughout this whole process now of tightening it up, I'm going to continuously monitor where my inside stud is relative to my tab to ensure that they are lined up. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect. You will have a little bit of play in it, but if you get them 90 degrees off, you'll have to take it all back apart or recompress the spring and redo it. So now we're going to go ahead and put our new spring compressor back on, because we're going to need to collapse this spring to put the shock and pieces back together. When the hat goes down, it seats. I don't think we're there yet. Take that a little bit more. And when we hit the hat down, we can feel it actually. Top of the shock. Means we've got to tighten it up. Same thing we did last time. Take our strap wrench. Now we got it on the shaft. You look. Zoom in on this. Look in here. You can see I got the strap. You can see I'm spinning it. It gives enough friction to do the job. The whole idea here is just to get some tension on it. Not on. Tell when it hits bottom. Take your strap wrench out. Now at this point, we recheck our alignment, make sure that our cups are lined up to the edges of the spring. You can do a bottom counterclockwise, top clockwise, make sure they're locked together. Then go back to your nut. Make sure we're lined up with our tab. Okay. Now we're going to remove the spring compressor. Keep in mind some of the stuff may shift. You want to make sure you hold it. One last final check on our tab. We are reasonably lined up. So now we have our new spring and strut combination ready to go back in the car.